Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is smashing records, boasting significant performance improvement, and wowing hardo gamers that have already beat the entire 20-hour main storyline in 2 days. All thanks to artificial intelligence. The capabilities made possible in this video game are night and day from the last iteration of the highly rated PS4 Marvel's Spider-Man. From traversal speed more than doubling, shooting literally like a cannonball through the skies, to performance quadrupling and higher traffic, building, and pedestrian density, to water seamlessly morphing and wrapping around boats and characters, to improved ray tracing, the seamless reflection quality and realism, to bigger battle scenes, to wider story choices, to high-octane combat, artificial intelligence has just set the new golden standard for high-quality, action-packed video game development. Let's discuss how AI has catapulted Marvel's Spider-Man 2 to the fastest-selling PlayStation Studios game in PlayStation history for a 24-hour period. But more importantly, what's next for video game development? Because this has changed things forever. Subscribe now or your save file will be corrupted next time you log on. First off, quick disclaimer. Spider-Man 2 is not the fastest selling game in history, it's the fastest PlayStation exclusive, as it is being sold exclusively to next-gen or PlayStation 5 users. And you may think, wow, that's stupid. Why wouldn't they make it available to everybody? PS4 users, Xbox users, and PS5 users alike. Well, it comes down to sales partially. If you want to play Spider-Man 2, you better buy a PS5. However, older consoles like the PS4 simply wouldn't be able to take advantage of PS5's AI capabilities, which is the whole point of this video. And so, where do we start? Well, naturally, I think most people, whether you are interested in the video game itself or not, tend to look at the graphics and performance. And boy, did Spider-Man 2 leave little to be desired here. As we mentioned previously, traversal speed has more than doubled, and when comparing this ridiculous gameplay speed to PS4 performance, it's obviously notable. There have been many new movement mechanics added to the game that flex PS5's performance muscles. Spider-Man's new websuit literally allows him to fly through the air at speeds unfathomable in prior iterations. And you may ask, well, how does AI play into this? Well, it certainly wouldn't be a good video combining the features of video game development and AI if we didn't mention ray tracing. Ray tracing is a technology I'm sure you've heard of by now, but if you haven't, it's essentially a magical way for video games to create incredibly realistic lighting effects, hence improving graphics and giving the game that real feel. And AI has brought ray tracing to the next level. Virtually every video game ever created, at least those that have ray tracing capabilities, has a setting that allows you to toggle the feature on or off. And let's be honest, this is really just a subtle form of financial extortion by video game developers. In the past, you could really only play games with ray tracing on with a computer that looked like this, but Spider-Man 2 is proving otherwise. This is primarily because performance usually takes a massive hit with ray tracing on, but the graphics are marvelous. Even a child's game based entirely on blocks. We gotta admit, this looks incredible. And this begs the question, the age-old dilemma that dedicated gamers face on a daily basis. Years and years of a balancing act. Do you want better performance or better graphics? Not to fear gamers, all performance modes, 30, 40, and 60 FPS, all include ray tracing by default. AI has enabled rendering at such incredibly high speeds that real-time ray tracing is no longer a wish, but now an expectation across the gaming industry. All the shadows, lighting, and reflections that you see are all dynamically rendered as you move through the map. No need to debate between better graphics or performance when you can just have the best of both worlds at the exact same time. And today, with the average human attention span now less than that of a goldfish, it's mission critical for video game developers to crank up the speeds of games, especially those that are designed to be action-packed. AI-powered GPUs are now able to process tasks billions of times faster than in the past, so real-time, realistic graphics are here to stay. As you can see in this video made by IGN, the comparison between New York and the original Spider-Man released just 5 years ago is drastically different than the New York in Spider-Man 2. They look like two different worlds, and this is all thanks to the lifeblood of future game development, and that's artificial intelligence. As you may expect, there is a limit to how many details can be shown or rendered to the player at one time due to the performance constraints of software and hardware. I'm sure you can see just how much these performance constraints have grown over the past 5 years. AI has enabled many more objects to be rendered at once, making the gaming experience that much more immersive and satisfying. This occurs on both a large scale, viewing the city from the highest point on the map, down to the lowest scale of detail on an outfit. And honestly, it may be hard for you to even comprehend and truly appreciate all the little intricacies between each version. Small things like the way a building reflects in the windows of another building, or how vibrant colors appear on street signs and banners, or how water wraps around geometric shapes, all these features play an important role, independently as their own standalone features, and more importantly, collectively as a complete immersive environment. And naturally, the better that these games start to look, the more difficult it is for you and I to notice and see the drastic improvement. But all these little things add up to create that experience that gamers live for. Before we dig a little bit deeper into how AI impacts the video game development industry as a whole, we need to highlight a couple of more aspects of Spider-Man 2 that put the power of AI on full display. A big problem with the first iteration of Marvel's Spider-Man, or any open world game for that matter, is the repetition of missions and story arcs. Nobody likes to deal with repetitive tasking, even if it's disguised in a slightly different flavor. Using AI, generating side story progressions and more naturally sounding chat dialogues has become a key in reducing the time and money spent during development and also enhancing the player's experience. There's no longer a need to manually script out every little detail of a story progression anymore. A list of circumstances and characteristics is simply fed to an AI-based character. They learn and understand the context they are provided, and now they can have completely natural conversations with other characters and genuine interactions with their environment. This opens the door to virtually endless creativity when it comes to mission design, effectively eliminating repetition while keeping the game flow as originally intended. All the hard thinking and planning is done up front. What do you want the main story arc to be? What kind of characters are involved? What's the historical context? Once this initial planning phase is ironed out, let AI do the rest. Why waste your time creating alternate paths and optional missions when you can feed a character their own personal story plus some context and boom, you have yourself an automatically generated custom storyline. One of the biggest selling points of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 was the ability to switch between the two lead characters in Miles Morales and Peter Parker in real time, making for quite the exciting and dynamic experience. And this was executed to near perfection with barely 2 seconds of loading needed to buffer between the two character perspectives. This leads into one of AI's most important roles in the future of game design, and that's open world generation. Open world meaning the player gets to choose what they do and when, essentially giving all the freedom and autonomy to the player. AI has been a huge stepping stone for open world games because in the past, most scenes in games were pre-generated as the player was moving along a predetermined path. The environment, storyline, and interactive features occurred in a linear fashion. The player has this happen to them, they see this thing pop up, and this is what they do next. I think you get the point. There was no deviation from the intended storyline, and if there was, for example in games like GTA 5, then it took a team of over 1,000 people about 3 to 5 years to complete. However, with today's processing power now dwarfing that of 10 years ago, the same GTA game could be completed with 1/10 of the team in 1/2 of the time. The point is, AI can generate this entire open world for you with the click of a button. Just look at Unity or Unreal, the world's most popular game engines. And for those non-nerds out there, just think a game engine as a software that video game developers use to build their video games. These game engines allow video game developers to design a small area of their map and expand it like you would click and drag the corner of a shape in PowerPoint. For example, let's take an arbitrarily small area like 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer. We can then procedurally generate an enormous 1,000 kilometer by 1,000 kilometer hyper-realistic world filled with intricate design features and AI-powered characters or NPCs, all falling in line with the theme you established in your initial draft. That 10 by 10 area. This design process used to take months to years, but can now be done with the click of a button in a few seconds. And obviously the procedural generation won't be perfect, right? So developers can just go through the generated world and make manual edits or other customizations as they see fit. Just like how we see AI being used to write the initial drafts of emails and presentations through Microsoft's Copilot, or the first draft of your English essay due tomorrow with ChatGPT, now open world drafts can be produced completely by AI. Former Unity CEO said the most impressive video game worlds take hundreds of game designers, graphic artists, and musicians many years to create. Generative AI will drastically cut that time down by roughly 5 to 10 times. And this was just a few months ago, so just imagine what video games might look like in a couple of years. I think it's safe to say that Marvel Spider-Man 2 has set the bar extremely high for superhero video game development, but also the industry as a whole. AI has enabled procedural generation of a hyper-realistic New York, custom mission story arcs, captivating character personalities and natural dialogue, accurate reflective lighting and shading, different combos and sequences for high variability combat, enhanced muscle deformation for more realistic outfits, and just an overall more immersive feel to the gaming experience. With the industry set to grow at a 9% clip for the next 5 years and revenues expected to top $467 billion by 2027, there is room for even more growth thanks to artificial intelligence. Spider-Man 2 is just the start of the next generation of Sony's PS5 video games. In fact, Sony established Sony AI in April 2020 exactly for that purpose, to pursue groundbreaking research in AI specifically relating to its use cases in video games and entertainment. I think the main takeaway from all of this being that AI isn't just some flash in the pan or one-time breakthrough. It's a repeatable template that can be used over and over again. I'd say it's time to expect higher and higher quality video games to be released on quicker and quicker cadences. Albeit, sure, maybe not on the scale that Marvel Spider-Man 2 did, as it was literally one of Sony's first next-gen hits that gamers claim actually felt next-gen, with it being exclusively released on the PlayStation 5. I think it's safe to say the sky is truly the limit for video games being developed on AI-powered game engines and being played on AI-powered consoles. And honestly, I can't wait to see where this takes the industry and what kind of stuff we can expect to see in the future. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!